The alarm clock rings, and for the first time in 10 years, you simply have absolutely no desire. It isn't that you are tired, it isn't that you are sick, it is something far more disturbing. You gaze at the schedule that once ruled your life, the goals that used to fuel your late nights, and they look as if they were scrawled by a stranger in a foreign language. You press the gas pedal of your drive, waiting for that familiar hum of the engine, but there is only silence. You aren't broken. You are undergoing a fundamental deconstruction that our culture is terrified to talk about. Here is the reality no one prepares you for. We are sold this glamorous idea that spiritual awakening is like flipping a light switch. Suddenly, everything is clear, you are energized and ready to save the world. But for the highly sensitive, for the deep feelers, and especially for empaths, the reality is often a descent into total emptiness. You don't turn into a ball of light, you become a void. You stop chasing, you stop doing. And in a world that worships the hustle, this feels like a total system crash. But this is where it gets interesting. This is not the end of your road, it is the edge of your map. Let's get one thing straight right now. As an empath, you have spent a lifetime tuning your frequency to everyone else's station. You built a role, a mask, that was designed to keep you safe, to make you likable, to keep the peace. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who knew a thing or two about the shadows of the human mind, called this the persona. Think of the persona as a heavy winter coat you put on to survive a blizzard. It was necessary, it kept you warm. But spiritual rising is like the climate suddenly changing to tropical heat. If you keep wearing that coat, you will burn up. So your soul does the only thing it can. It rips the fabric off. The problem is, you identified with the shell. You thought you were the outer layer. So when the need to please people, to chase status, or to gain validation melts away, you feel naked. You feel like you have lost your drive. You haven't. You have simply lost your tolerance for the artificial fuel that used to push you forward. Picture a high-powered trader who suddenly freezes on the trading floor, unable to shout another order. Or the parent who has spent 2 decades perfectly managing the household who one afternoon sits on the kitchen floor staring at a spilled carton of milk, realizing they lack the will to wipe it up. The old engine, which ran on the gasoline of "what will people think of me," has finally run dry. Jung named this the nigredo, the blackening. It is the first stage of alchemy. Before turning lead into gold, you must burn the heavy metal to ash. It is the breakdown of the self-image. And for empaths, who feel every shift in energy 10 times more deeply than the average person, this phase feels like sitting inside a pressure cooker with the lid sealed shut. You try to force yourself back to work. You try to watch motivational videos where someone yells at you to grind harder, but it bounces off you. Why? Because your soul has gone on strike. It refuses to work for the ego any longer. Here is the paradox. The world looks at you and sees burnout, laziness, or a crisis. Jung looks at you and sees a miracle. He understood that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, but the price of that privilege is the shedding of who you pretended to be. You are in the cocoon phase. We love the metaphor of the butterfly, yet we neatly skip the middle part. Inside the casing, the caterpillar doesn't just grow wings. It completely dissolves into a genetic soup. It loses all shape. If you cut open a casing halfway through, you wouldn't see a half caterpillar, half butterfly. You would see goo. Right now, you are the goo. This is the liminal space, the threshold between the old identity that has died and the new identity that hasn't arisen yet. It is uncomfortable. It is terrifyingly quiet, and it is absolutely necessary. The mistake most people make here is panic. They try to rebuild the old self. They try to rush the process because the formlessness looks like failure. But pause and ask yourself, why are you so afraid of the stillness? For an empath, silence is often where the shadows come out to play. Without the distraction of constant movement, you are forced to sit with your own swallowed emotions, the grief you ingested to keep others happy, the anger you hid to avoid conflict. Jung warned that awakening isn't about imagining figures of light, but about making the darkness conscious. This demotivation is actually a massive energetic cleanup operation. Your system is offline for maintenance. So, what happens if you just surrender to the pause? A strange thing happens, something Jung called enantiodromia. It is a term meaning that when things reach their extreme, they flip into their opposite. The extreme striving of the ego collapses into the deep peace of the soul. And in that silence, a new type of propulsion begins to form. Imagine that you have been running your whole life on adrenaline and caffeine. That is a fast, dirty burn. It gets you up the hill, but it wears out the engine. The new drive that comes after awakening is like solar power. It is quiet, it is renewable, and it doesn't come from a place of "I must prove I am worthy." It comes from a place of "I am moving because it is my nature to move." This is the shift from ambition to meaning. You might find that you no longer care about the promotion that requires you to crush your competition. Instead, you might feel a sudden, quiet pull to plant a garden, to write a novel no one may ever read, or to simply sit by the sea and breathe. It doesn't look productive to the standard world, but to the soul, it is the only work that matters. You stop chasing things. You start attracting them. It is the difference between hunting prey and acting as a magnet. When you operate from this new center, what Jung called the self, you aren't pushing a rock up a hill anymore. You are flowing like water downhill. It looks effortless, yet water cuts through stone over time. You become unstoppable in the best way possible, because you can no longer be controlled by fear or the promise of a gold medal. So, if you are currently staring at the roof, feeling like your spark has gone out, listen to me closely. The fire didn't die. The artificial lights were turned off so you could finally see the starlight. You aren't failing at life. You are graduating from the school of the ego. Don't let the noise of the world rush you through this holy interval. Let the old structures dissolve. Let the silence do its job. Because the energy that is coming to take its place isn't just motivation, it is fate. And when that new engine fires up, you won't need anyone to tell you to hustle. You will move with the frightening, beautiful certainty of a weather system moving forward. If you have felt this shift, this strange, heavy silence where your drive used to be, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what is the winter coat you were forced to take off? What mask are you tired of wearing? Your story helps others realize they aren't going crazy. They are just waking up. And do me a favor, if you know anybody, another sensitive soul or empath, who is beating themselves up because they can't hustle like they used to, send this video to them. Give them permission to be in the cocoon. Subscribe if you want to go deeper into the architecture of the mind and the reality of the spirit. We don't do surface-level advice here. We go to the source. Until next time, trust the void. It is where the real work happens.